The views and opinions expressed on this show are mine alone, Jackie Barnum, and are not the views and opinions of the Department of Defense or the United States Marine Corps. This episode of The More You Give has been generously provided by VetTix. VetTix is a wonderful organization that provides entertainment, sporting events, tickets, you name it, to service members, both veterans, currently serving, reservists, any service, first responders. Go to vettix.org. That's vettix.org. Go sign up today. VetTix is the organization that gives to those that give. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm so excited. I'm just so excited to have my very, very good friend on today. I'm Jackie Barnum, host of The More You Give, and today we have Caitlin Solomon. So I have known Caitlin for, I was thinking about this, 5 years. We met in 2017, and she is an educator, which I honestly cannot think of a more difficult job. But if that's not enough, she is also a lacrosse and field hockey coach. And then if that isn't enough, on top of that, she is a yoga instructor and probably one of the most impressive yoga instructors that I've ever met. So with that, Caitlin, I'm just so honored to have you on. This podcast is all about service and just being an educator, being a teacher, and just influencing the next generation. I'm just so impressed by what you do. So with that, I'm going to pass it over for you just to introduce yourself a little bit and just tell us about yourself.
I have never heard all of my jobs spelled out like that in one impressive spiel. So thank you, Jackie.
I left things out too. I forgot to even mention that you're the leadership lady. You're in charge of the leadership of the whole school. That's huge too.
Yeah. Everything it's just so funny because in every facet of my life, I lead, either it's adults or students or athletes, whatever. I lead people, but I never wanted to be a leader when I was younger. It's just so funny that I'm here now. But yeah, so I'm Caitlin. I'm an educator. So I have my master's in curriculum and instruction and a degree that specifies I have an English credential. So mainly my love of reading and books kind of brought me back into teaching. And it's so fun to just read and talk about literature with my kids. And I mainly teach seniors now. And so it's also a really cool way to show them the real world application and the collegiate application of what they're learning in high school. So
how did you first even get interested in teaching, or how did you know that's what you wanted to do? How did you land on this?
That's a really nice long story. I don't even think I've told you this story, but it's it's not as simple as I'd like it to be. It's part of my story and it's a big part of who I am. When I was younger, my mom always told me I used to play school. I never really wanted to play house that much. I just wanted to play school. So I always wanted to be the teacher, and I set all my little stuffed animals up and I played school, and I wanted to be in charge. That's just how I am as the oldest child. I always wanted to have my voice heard by everyone around me. And I like to follow the rules. So that's what I was known for when I was younger. I went to college and I wanted to study marketing and communication, and I loved studying communication. I think it taught me how to be a better leader and human and student all around. And then I graduated, but right before I had graduated, I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. So my college life was not your typical college life. I came home freshman year of college and was kind of having some stomach issues. And so we tested out food, we tested everything out. And over the next couple of years, I was visibly ill. So I was dropping a lot of weight. I was not able to, properly absorb nutrients. And a lot of my, growing up as an athlete, my whole identity was in my physical strength, how I performed physically and what I looked like. And so when that was diminished, it was like I lost who I was basically. And so I felt really lost. I felt really weak, and I couldn't do my normal running and strength training and sports like I love to do. And so I found a yoga studio because that was the only thing I knew how to do, or I was able to do. My doctor said, you can stretch and that's it. And then I said, joke's on you, I'm going to go do yoga sculpt. And I did that, fell in love with it because of the beautiful competitive nature that is strengthening your mind and your body at the same time, surrounded by like-minded individuals. And my good friend and mentor, Katie B, shout out Katie B Happy, love her so much. She convinced me at probably my sickest time to do yoga sculpt teacher training. And I was the quietest little child. I was like, I'm sick, I can't do that. And she was like, no, you can. You're telling yourself that narrative. And so I jumped in. I did yoga sculpt teacher training when I was a senior in college. And I graduated college and I said, I love doing this, but I also love, and then I started coaching field hockey then. And I was like, how can I make this whole, like everything that I love to do and everything I'm good at, a reality of my profession? And my mom was like, I don't know why you've never thought about, being a teacher, but I think we should look into grad school and that profession for you. And that same week that my mom said that to me, I was in a grocery store and I was helping this woman with her child because they were all in line. And she was like, you must be a teacher. And I was like, I think that's a sign. And I signed up for grad school the next day and I've never looked back.
That is so interesting how you took something like devastating, basically, something that's, I guess one of my questions is like, how do you find even like the energy when you are not eating, not sleeping well, probably have no strength, and then to find the strength to not only do yoga, but then to want to teach it to others and make other people better. Like I literally, I don't know if I ever told you this, but I did a career day. My cousin's a teacher as well. She teaches like 7th and 8th graders. And I imagine that high schoolers are also a tough crowd to impress. So these, 8th graders were just staring at me like I was in my Marine Corps uniform, giving them swag, teaching them all day long. I literally got home and just like fell asleep. I have never been more tired in my entire life. I literally texted her. I just was like, I don't know how you do this every day. How the heck? So I'm literally imagining you just like superwoman doing that, teaching all day, instilling knowledge and wisdom on young humans, and then being like, boom, okay, now I'm going to go like kick some butt of adults. Boom, now I'm going to teach them how to kick other people's butts. Like I don't know how do you find that energy and motivation every day to do that?
Have you seen that meme of Rihanna that goes, what do you do on those days where you just aren't feeling it? She goes, pretend.
Yes.
That's me.
Oh my gosh.
I am the ultimate fake it till you make it. Because I'm not just for the fact of faking your smile through life, but I'm also a proponent of, if you're not feeling your absolute best, because for me, most of that time was feeling, I don't know if you know much about Lyme disease, but brain fog is a huge component. So I even have days like to this day, if I'm having, because it's chronic, so I'm going to have it for a while and I'm dealing with symptoms still. And so, to this day, I think the other day I was reading to my kids, reading 1984, and I started reading and then I just kind of trailed off, lost my whole train of thought. And I had to stop and pause for a second. And then I was like, all right, hang on. Sorry, you got and I'm pretty transparent with they're seniors, so I can kind of tell them how it is. And I was like, oh, sorry, I'm a little off my game today. Let me take a second, revisit it. So even to this day, it's just like how I'm acting and how I'm treating the situation. And so if I go into the day knowing that I woke up, okay, it's not a great day for me. My stomach's hurting. Things are off and I can feel it. It's a Lyme day, I call it. And if I act and feel that like sick all day, I'm going to feel worse. And so sometimes on my worst days, I'm acting the best on the outside, and it kind of helps me get through those harder times. And then the next day, I do feel a lot better. And it's, knowing that it's waves and it's ebbs and flows. And I think that's a kind of one of the biggest lessons I've learned over the last 10 years of having this illness and teaching and everything. It's not every day is going to be perfect, but it's just how you react to the situation I've been around, I have friends that they've had similar issues to me, and we'll go out with friends, and some of them are acting like they're bringing the mood down, or they're bringing the entire energy down. And for me, like, I've never been that person. I've always been the person that's cracking the jokes, or I'm an extrovert introvert, so I want to be really extroverted when I'm with people that I know and love. And even when I'm feeling at my worst, I don't want to bring everyone down with that. And I think that's a huge part of my facade that I put on this act that I put on every day, but it's really how I want to feel. So I'm just like putting myself in the situation of, here's how I really want to feel every day, so I'm going to act like I do.
Right. But I think it's interesting how you said there are moments where you are not okay and you have to be honest with your students. And I think it's important that's like a teaching moment in and of itself, is that I feel like, at least for me, I was kind of raised in this like, you're fine no matter what, like, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine, everything's fine. So then you're just like pushing through pain all the time. And I think it's good to be like resilient, like you're absolutely the definition of that. And how like having to balance those days of like, you know what, I'm actually like not okay today, like I'm going to be honest. And I think that's a huge, wonderful example to set for students, is for them to be like, oh, like the adult in the room is admitting that she's not okay, like that means it's okay for me to admit that I'm not okay. And I think that is just a huge step, like that's like mind blowing to me. Like I feel like I don't know anybody who's like, people, we don't do that. We push through the pain, we push through things, we bottle things up, and then things either get worse. So I mean, I totally think that's amazing, especially for like that age group, as these like young adults are figuring out who they are, and they're not okay sometimes. And I think it's important to say, hey, let's start this over. Like I started this day isn't going so great. Like I'm going to be transparent with you. And I love that. That's wonderful. So would you say that, I guess like for teaching, I'm trying to think of like what differences do you see between the students, your high school students, and then like your students in like a yoga studio, in terms of like how you
It's
approach them? Like how do you
Yeah,
motivate those groups of people?
I think there's like a couple of ways to look at this. So often I think there's two sides of the coin when you're looking at, let's look at high school students, for instance, first. There's like one group of people, especially now, we're like forcing them to grow up so fast. And we look at this, some people will look at a class of seniors, so 17, 18-year-olds, and like, what, you should be an adult. Why are you acting like a child? When, okay, boys are going to mature way less quickly, so the boys are going to still act out a little bit. They're boys. Women are genetically, that's just, they progress biologically. They mentally start to grow much sooner in life. So we also have to put that into consideration. And they're still kids. And so when we're having them sit in this class all day, trying to be as serious as possible, focus on the learning, nothing else matters, like that's not conducive to them growing as a human being. And I like the fact that I don't teach the AP classes or the honors classes. It's just called College Prep English 12. And it is so fun that I have the flexibility to be like, hey, today we're gonna shift gears. We don't have to focus on this end goal of an AP test. We can focus on just like our emotional maturity and how we are as, let's color today. Like I've had my seniors color, and they is the biggest smiles I've ever seen on the day where I'm like, let's go take a walk. We're gonna go color. So I think when you're looking at high school kids and you're trying to treat them as adults all day, every day, some of them are going to sit there and scream out, I can't do that. I'm just a kid still. But then there are the kids in the room that maybe from at home, they have all of these rules. They're treated like kids. They have no respect at home, whatever that may be. Then they come to school and they just demand to be treated as an adult. So I think it's this fine line of figuring out work and play in the classroom. Kind of the same with adults, in my opinion, because sometimes adults are on all day, every day. You're a mom, you're a dad, you're a parent, you're a working professional, you're a CEO, you're in the military, whatever it is. you're on all day as an adult. And then you get to show up in a yoga sculpt class and play like a kid and whoop and holler and yell and move, or you get to cry in yoga and breathe, and you get that inner child sense out. And I
Yeah.
think each group has their own time and place for when here's the time to be like, kids need to own up and know you're going to college next year. Here's when you need to be an adult, but also like still keep that childlike sense of play and vulnerability in you. Same with adults, because we're just on all day, every day. When I'm the way I am, I'm like silly and young still because I get to hang out with kids all day. I
Yeah.
like get to learn all the TikTok trends and hang out with them. And, you know, I'm remain in that childlike sense of play, even with high schoolers. A lot of adults don't get that. And I think that's the best part of walking into a yoga studio, specifically Sculpt. I can put on whatever music I want, blast it, and just that's my place to be creative and have fun. And I think that's where a lot of adults come to as well.
Yeah. That's so interesting. So you definitely bring like a mindfulness aspect to your students in the
Yeah.
classroom, which I love because that's what yoga is. And even though it took me a while to embrace that, I will. Okay, I gotta ask you a question. Well,
Okay.
I gotta ask you this. So what was when we first met? Because we
Hmm.
met through yoga. You were
Yeah,
my
you were coming to my
instructor.
class. Yeah.
What was your first impression of me? I don't know if you remember this. Maybe I
What
did
did I was I
something
mean
like
to you? What happened?
I did something very specific every class. I had my little place right in front, like right in
Oh
front of
yeah,
you.
you went right in front of me because like it wasn't the row in front of the mirror. It was like my mat and then you right here.
Because I wanted your approval so badly. I just was like, I want to be the star student. Like I want Caitlin because what you do as an instructor, because you're so amazing, is you like learn everyone's names and you do the like good job, Jackie. So if I got a good job,
Yeah.
Jackie, during one of your class, I just would be so elated. So I purposely would go put my mat right in front of your mat, so you had no choice but to. I was like
Wait.
the star student, but I realized like kind of in this like being an adult, like being on all the time, I think I somewhat, at least for the first year or two of going to yoga, because yoga was new to me when I was in San Diego. And I took it as like, this is a workout and that is all I'm coming here
Hmm.
for. I know Caitlin's going to
Mm.
like kick my butt and just, I'm going to get a cardio and strength workout in. I'm going to be in and out. But I think the more I like open my mind and I listen to you and listen to, I mean, I did teacher training as well. And that completely changed my whole thought process about yoga. And that's not that like the workout part is like a benefit, So
Yeah.
talk a little bit about like what that like means to you and how you use yoga to kind of serve others and impart that important part of life.
Okay. First of all, I wanted your approval when you were taking my class. I because you were like this like really fit girl that would come to my class, do everything amazing. People would be like, "Oh my God, who's that?" And I was like, "She's Jackie. She's in the military. She's insane. I love her so much." And she takes my class, and
I'm
I
like
was
doing
like, "I'm the
burpees like
best."
until I die, like just literally just vomiting,
But
but
when
I
you took
kept
class,
going.
so focused, and I could tell you wanted to like not quit, do everything you could, get the workout, and I loved having you in class because you'd be so serious and I would crack a joke and then your whole face would just be like and you would just like all the seriousness of the workout itself would just melt away.
Yeah.
Especially if Greg was
Because
there
I
too.
took it so seriously, but like you
Yeah.
said, I never thought of it as a time to be a kid again. Like you literally just saying
Yeah.
that right now, I like turned a light bulb on for me just now. Like that makes so much sense. That's what it should be.
Yeah, it should. And I when I first took teacher training, when I first was taking sculpt, I was like, okay, first I was doing yoga because that's all I could physically do. And then when I got diagnosed during that senior year, I started getting the right help medically. And so I was like feeling a little bit better. And then I went a little too intense and I was like, let's do sculpt and C2 or whatever every day, all day. And I did all of those classes and I was in it purely for the physical at first, as most of us. I think 99% of like athletes that go to yoga will say, yeah, I was vainly in it for the physical benefit of yoga or sculpt or weights, like cardio, hit, like you just want that heart pumping interval, someone yelling at you to keep going, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to stop, of course. It wasn't until I did teacher training, which I mean, I think I'll always credit Katie to just my confidence and my finding my voice, because she made it so much fun. And then her main proponent, every time you walk into a class with her, and I say this too to this day because it's just what I believe in my soul, it's the beautiful thing about a yoga sculpt or even just like an intense vinyasa practice is you not only get this awesome workout, but you get a work in. You get that inward, heart bursting, playful look at what I'm doing. And it's how you can take that beyond the physical thing beyond your mat. So, this exercise might be this burpees might be super hard, but you just did 8 of them. And now you can leave class and go, look, I'm physically stronger and I can conquer the world now when I leave class. And I think, doing that teacher training, I also like could not find the beat of any song. Don't know what music was. I was not a dancer, not a musician. And I, for an entire day of training, like 3 hours long, I think, she had us tapping on the beat, finding the beat. And now I can't not hear beat in music. And it makes music so much more fun. And I'm so much more confident when I'm teaching, when I'm just out, like hanging out with friends and dancing or whatever. Like I never thought of myself as a dancer, but at least I have rhythm now. Like I can find the beat. And I think that's just made everything about teaching, about life, anything just so much more fun. And I think that's what we're missing is just that fun play part of it. So I can put on EDM music and then switch right over to rap and rap along with it and get on the beat. And that's the best thing is like when you're doing jumping jacks and you hit the beat drop of the EDM on the chorus, everyone's like, this is or you're
Yeah.
pulsing in a squat in a rap song right when the beat hit, like the whole bass is shaking your body and you're like, I feel like I'm gonna collapse, but I am in it because of this song and because of
Those
you.
dang pulses. Those dang pulses. They're the worst.
We love a pulse.
That's so interesting. But also, I think you do such a good job at balancing that like fun, super high energy people. It's like community in that class and you bring everybody together. But then at the end, it's about like your own journey and bringing everybody back when you're, oh my gosh, what is the final pose? Shavasana? When you're laying down?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know why I like blanked on that really. I was like, oh my God, they're going to take my teacher training away. When you're laying there.
Take her certificate out.
Oh my gosh. But like you have a way to then shift the attention back to you and your own heart and your mind. And like how do you prepare those like reflective moments? And how do you get like inspired to like, because those are super powerful moments. Those the last 3 minutes of class are just so powerful. I have like cried during those times before. Yeah. So how do you get inspired during those moments?
Crying in a puddle of your own sweat in a 90-degree room is probably the best feeling. Surrounded by 50 other sweaty humans, the best. Each week it's just what I'm going through. So I think the way that I can kind of tap into this is what, I'm going through this week and here's what I need to tell myself and here's what I need to hear. That's pretty much exactly what I'm going to say in my class every Saturday. So it's hard for me when I go to a class and it feels like someone read a quote out of a book that didn't really resonate with them. And I'm like, that's not the class that's going to hit home for me. What's going to hit home is when I'm sitting in a class and that instructor is almost in tears themselves, reflecting and talking about what they're going through. And it's just what I needed to hear because, there's always some sort of energy and during the week and maybe you're connecting with that teacher. And I think I'm able to and most of the time, I don't even plan my theme or what I'm going to say. It comes from the heart in that moment. I've never been a planner. I'm a planner in all aspects of my life except for yoga, sculpt. Particularly, I make a playlist that I'm super proud of. And then I just follow the music the whole class. I don't really plan my classes. I plan my vinyasa classes because I want those to go in a certain way. But first I make a sculpt class, and then based on what I did in sculpt, I plan a vinyasa class to tailor off of that.
So for people that don't know what a sculpt class is, it's basically just an hour where Caitlin makes you do cardio on a yoga mat, which like for such a
With
small little
weights.
with weights. It's like the smallest surface area, but somehow you just burn like 800 calories and you don't
Yeah.
travel more than 2 feet, but you're just
You get
jumping
the
and do
biggest
it.
bang
So
for
it's
your
like
buck.
yeah. So yoga sculpt is just very, very intense, amazing. Oh, and it's in a heated room. Add that fun little aspect.
Check
Um,
that off.
which that is just even more of a release, I feel. Like leaving, like I literally will come home. I remember in Encinitas, I would come home and I would like take my yoga clothes off and I would first wring
Ring
them
them.
out in over my bathtub and then like they would get like I had to like put them outside to dry. It's like a level. This is probably just too much information for everyone, but it's just this like next level detox. And like when you leave that studio, there's like that when you
Hmm.
as soon as like the door opens and the fresh air hits you, you
Oh,
feel like you are
the
30
best.
pounds lighter.
Yeah.
And again, that just ties into the whole like you go honestly, I feel like when I go into your classes, I feel like I enter as one person carrying all this, not just like water weight, but like just physical like weight and burden
Emotional,
from the,
physical,
yes, yes,
everything. Yeah.
yes. And then it just like lifts away. And that is such a amazing skill and like a superpower that people like, it's so, so wonderful to have that kind of impact. And I think, I mean, I did teacher training again to sort of with the mindset of like, oh, I want to just like teach a workout class, but it's just
Sure.
so much more, and it's so much more about like everyone's on their own journey. You know, it's everyone goes for their own reason, and being able to connect with each person individually while also just saying the same words to everybody, but everyone
Yeah.
processes it and internalizes it differently. It's just so interesting. And yeah, I just love,
Yeah.
I just so,
And one thing's
yes.
and one thing is gonna land for half the room, and then the others are gonna be like, not for me. And then maybe it's just like that little tiny nugget in one other sequence that's gonna change someone's day, make it better in, some way. And if anyone out there is used to just like intense exercise, and you're going in and you're leaving and you're not feeling the emotional, spiritual, beyond the exercise benefit, it, I doing something like a sculpt, yoga, sculpt fusion, whatever that ties in yoga and has an actual yoga instructor teaching it's changed the way that I move. It's changed my entire family's life. My entire family does. They kind of laughed at me when I said I was doing sculpt training when I was in college. They were like, "We don't do yoga." And I was like, "Okay, but can you just come try my class, please?" You'll
Yeah.
like it. You'll like it. It has weights. And my mom like has grown up. I've grown up with my mom doing like kickboxing and cardio. I was like, "You'll like it. We'll do jumping jack. It'll be fine. You'll like it." And she goes more than me now. And then my brother ended up doing teacher training, and I humbled him real quick on his first class. When he came into mine, he was like, "That was dope. I'm going to do that again and again and again." And now he teaches me so much about the mindful movement of the body and the mind itself and the connection and everything. And same with my sister is an incredible yogi now too. It's changed the entire trajectory of my whole family from me doing that one training, which is really cool to think about. We were just a whole family of athletes, and now none of us really, except for me. I mean, coaching the sports that I played is my version of playing them, but we all just do yoga now.
Yeah. And I think a huge part of yoga is society has this idea of what yoga is.
Hmm.
And there's such a humbling moment for people when because they're like, oh, it's just like old ladies stretching, or like
Yeah.
you're just like laying on a mat, and you're like, oh no, there's like
Oh
actually
no,
a
no.
lot that goes into it. And I will I had somebody come to my company when I was a company commander, and I had Marines, and I had 50 of them doing yoga sculpt
Oh,
on the
yep,
beach.
yep.
And
I
I
remember this.
remember, and they all were just laughing, hanging out, thought it was going to be so a little walk in the
Oh,
park. And I remember we had the instructor was saying, okay, burpees, let's go, like running into the ocean, running back. And I remember them running like by me, and they're like, ma'am, this is not yoga. And they were so upset. And I was like, I told you it can be challenging. Like, I
warned
didn't tell
you.
you what. And my other favorite too is like whenever I would bring like a friend to yoga, and
Hmm.
we would recommend like, okay, hey, I really recommend you use like 15-pound weights, and they just go to the very end of the weights and grab the 50-pounders, and you're like,
Oh, God.
okay, like they'll figure
Good
it
job.
out on their own. Like, and I think just yoga is just so humbling because it's very, very challenging, and for
Yeah.
like head to toe, inside and out. Like, it's just tying everything together. And for me, even the most challenging part is like the meditation part, because my brain is always
Hmm.
going. So that's what I've had like the most difficulty with. But it just everyone has their own experience, and I think, I mean, I just I just love like watching people, because yeah, people are like, oh, yoga, but
Uh-huh.
you're like, yeah, it's actually really difficult.
No,
And
no.
yeah, so how do
My favorite
you?
is
Oh,
taking someone new to a yoga sculpt class.
yes,
That
and my favorite
that's
is when they
humbling.
wear like sweatpants,
Oh, good.
and I'm like, really don't think you should wear sweatpants, and they're like, I'll be fine,
Mm-mm.
and I'm like, no, you're not going to be fine.
No, you're not. You're not. And I think
But
the beautiful thing about yoga sculpt is that for people like you and I who are like go go go, meditating is the hardest thing to do really if you're just going to be like, okay, I'm going to sit here quietly in my home, light a candle, meditate. That's kind of hard for me. When it's easy for me, I'm like a dog. Like I need to get my energy out and then I'm the best well-trained like human that I can be. So after a sculpt class or a power vinyasa class, and then you're laying there just physically tapped out, that's when I can go inward more. And I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but it works for me. And I know it works for a lot of other type A people where, waking up in the morning and sitting down and meditating, it doesn't work for me. Like it's not a good, consistent I can't tell myself to do that consistently, but the way that I meditate is I go into a class with an instructor that I know and I love. And usually it's not even a yoga sculpt class, it's a power class that I can close my eyes, lose my mind, flow, get everything out of my body, and then lay in complete bliss, physically, emotionally wrung out at the end. And then I can meditate and tap in. I think it's cool to
yeah,
think about it in that way. There's not one right way to practice mindfulness. And that's what I've tried to teach, my school students too.
wow,
I
I feel
think
like
that's the coolest
you're in
thing.
my own brain right now saying my thoughts, because I feel the exact same way. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Okay, well, thank you so much, Caitlin. I'm like, you taught me so many things today.
This was so
I'm
fun.
just I was like taking notes about I'm like took notes this whole time. This is so great. But
Just writing.
how can people find you if they want to follow you?
Um, on Instagram, it's just at C Solly. I teach yoga at Astea. So excited. I love that place. I'm
How
there
do
on
you spell
Saturday
that?
mornings. Asteya. So Astea.live on Instagram and the interweb, whatever you want to use. Um, it's my new spot, and I can walk there. If you didn't know that, I can walk right up the hill to it. It's so nice. Um, and yeah, that's kind of it.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest today. I hope everyone got something out of that. I definitely did. Again, my name is Jackie Barnum with The More You Give. I can't wait to share the next episode with you next week. I hope you all have a great night. Thank you.